All right, good evening, everyone.
Hey, Mr. Ray.
Is that Jacob?
Yes, sir.
Jacob
I
looks different.
shaved.
Yeah,
Yeah. Lost a
yeah.
lot of facial hair.
You look younger. I was like, who's this teenager of my class?
That's right. uh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, look sharp though.
Hey,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
I do like the beard though. You know, I'm a beard man,
Yeah.
but you do look sharp. So
It grows back pretty quick. So,
yeah, I
yeah.
know what you mean. It can be back in a week or so.
So, something like that. Yeah.
All right, so good day, everyone else. I'm just going to say your names as I write them down, so that I don't skip over anyone. And let me just let some more people in. Okay, so good morning, I'm saying good morning. Good evening, Clemente. And as I said, Jacob and Ray, good day as well. Good evening to you.
Good.
Thumbs up. Latavia.
Hi, sir.
Latavia or Latavia?
Latavia.
Latavia, yeah, that's what I thought. So Latavia and Veronica, good evening to you. And Salvador, good evening. And who has the iPhone? If you could let me know who you are.
That'll be me, Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan. Jonathan, what's your last name?
It'll be Coco.
Is it
C-O-C-O.
C?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Maria, good day to you. And Adriana.
Yeah. What do you mean you were told?
Good day. Good evening, Susanna.
Hi.
How are you today?
No.
And good day, Daniel. And good day, William.
Not Daniel Bohorquez.
Good evening to you.
Hey, Mr. Ray.
Wait, what,
Yes,
what
how you
Daniel
doing?
did you call?
Daniel, just to let you know, you have 2 accounts open again. I'm not
I don't
sure
know
if you know
how.
that.
I don't know how. This is, yeah.
Sorry,
I don't
Daniel.
know.
Daniel
Well,
Naharongo.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be
You
home.
have two accounts open.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
oh, this is Daniel Bohorquez. Sorry.
Yes, Daniel N has 2 of them open.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just checking in. Right on.
All right, and then Dorcas,
I'm here.
welcome as well, and then Daniel officially welcome Daniel B.
Yes.
All right, so okay, let me let some more in. So we have Andres and who else did I just let in? Oh, George, and good day, George. George W. Okay, so I know we're gonna have more people coming in as we go, but welcome to everyone that is here, that I have your names down so far. And hopefully everyone enjoyed their holiday weekend. We're safe, no harm and danger happened to any person. We're going to move on, and we're moving on to a new section now with integers. And this is a section that normally can take just a tad. Once we get it, it's just an easy breeze, but normally it's the introduction of it that might take some time, so don't feel bad if it does. If everybody gets it right away, that would be great. But do not feel bad if you do not. And good day, Justine, Marino. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. But before we do that, any questions from any of the assignments, worksheets, workbook, any questions on any of those topics or assignments or resources? All right, Jacob saying no, and I'm assuming everyone else is in the same boat. I have another iPad. Just waiting for iPad audio to connect. All right, so anyway, while I'm waiting for that connection. Okay, iPad 7. You can let me know who you are, iPad 7. Not sure if you can hear me yet. Whoever has the iPad, if you're on the iPad, then I'm more than likely talking to you, iPad 7.
Leonore, I think.
Oh, okay, thank you, Leonore, that's you.
Okay. I'm like, how do you know what I have?
Pardon?
I say, how do you know what I have?
Oh, if you don't change your name, what happens is Zoom takes the name of your device and
Oh.
puts it as your name. So
Oh,
all of our devices have pre-programmed names. So if you don't put it in there, it picks up iPad or Samsung or iPhone.
okay.
Yeah. And so then it pops up for you if you don't have your video screen on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So if you hear me say who has the iPhone, etc., it's because they didn't change their name and Zoom is just picking up the device that you have. All right, so let's go ahead and begin, as I stated earlier. And once again, we're moving on to the new lesson, unless somebody else has a question. We had a few people log on since I stated that. Any questions from the workbook or any of those worksheets? Now is the time to ask about that. But we shall move on to integers. All right, so this is lesson 3 in the unit 1 of the
Workbook?
student book.
Student book.
So student book, unit 1, lesson 3. It's called integers. Now, hopefully you have been finding the time to practice doing all the other topics. They all build upon each other. So what we did with factors and multiples will come back again when we learn how to add and subtract fractions. It will come back again in algebraic topics if you transfer it into HSE. So let's make sure that when we cover integers, everyone remembers how to do it. Unit 1 is the most important part because everyone has to do the information found in Unit 1 nowadays. You may or may not have to do the information in Unit 2 and Unit 3, depending on your career choice, but you will have to do some stuff in Unit 1. Yes, we do live in 2020 and we can download apps and whatnot that can do a lot of the stuff, but it's always good to know how to do what you deal with every single day. And we do deal with Unit 1 every single day. So it's something you want to continually practice, even when we don't have class. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with what is an integer. Integers basically are your positive whole numbers, the number 0, and the negative numbers. Now, the negative numbers is normally the part that causes people some angst. It's a little bit different thinking in negatives. But if you associate the negative numbers with money, how could we associate negative numbers with money? Anyone who's familiar with negatives. What would negative numbers represent in terms of money?
Well, it means that you are owing.
I'll say that again. I could barely hear you. Whoever, was that George?
It means that you are owing.
Right, it means that you owe money. That means you're in debt.
Yeah.
So just remember, with integers, just think about it as money. The positive whole numbers, if you're in the positive, that means you are in the green. You have funds. Your bank account is looking good, right? And if you're broke, okay, positive, hold on. I'm trying to get my pen to work. All right, here it goes. All right, so remember, positive means you have money in the bank. So you can have $3, $3,000, 300, etc. 0 just means you're broke. You ain't got nothing. I have nothing in my name. I don't owe anyone money. I have no money. I am 0. And then you have the dreaded negatives. That means you owe money. Now, owing money could mean various things. It could be a mortgage, car loan payment, anything where you're in the negative in a sense, although you could have a positive bank balance. It's just basically saying that you are on one side of the monetary number line. And so we're just going to use our understanding of integers to span all the variety of ways that it's used. All right, so remember, positive numbers will show an increase, and they're normally written without a plus sign, but sometimes we denote a plus sign to let you know what side we're on. So we say +3 or +3, right? Negative numbers are decreasing, so it means you're going down. Whether it's in altitude, like you're flying in an airplane and you start to go down, we indicate that with a negative, a hyphen. And so we say -3. In arithmetic, we would say subtract 3, right? It means you're going down in value. Now, the problem is the order of negative numbers. That's normally where we can run into some issues. But integers, just like whole numbers, can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. And as you learn more, there's other operations that can also be involved. And then we're going to learn about something called absolute value. Now, to do this, I'm going to switch from here. You can have the book open if you need to. But a lot of times a visual really helps with understanding the negative numbers. All right, does everyone see my number line with my green, red, and purple font?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? Your mics are muted. Okay, I see thumbs up from Ray.
Yes, we do.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's go over this again.
I see it.
Okay, great. The way that we write the numbers are, we count from left to right, we read from left to right in the westernized civilizations. And so we start in the negative numbers. And actually we are counting up when we're in the negatives. So here's what we call a number line, and the number line helps us to visualize what's happening. So imagine, just imagine for a moment, then let me just write down Norma. And welcome, Norma, if you can hear me. Imagine that you owe money, right? That you're in debt. You could put dollar signs there to assist. And you're at negative $5 in debt. Oops. Let me get back this pen. All right, you're negative $5 in debt. Or let me say I'm negative $5 in debt. So no one feels like, why you gotta say you? All right, so I'm negative $5 in debt. I got everybody coming in real fast. Hold on. Okay, so once again, welcome Norma. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but good evening.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great, and good evening, Gennaro. You just came in?
Yes.
Yes,
Good
and
evening.
Gennaro,
Good
I
evening.
believe you have congratulations in order. You passed your reasonings test.
Yes,
done.
math is my last subject.
All right, let's get it done. I
Yeah.
saw the email. They send out emails of who passes, so well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, sky's the limit. All right, so back to this. So Norma and Gennaro, we're learning about integers now, and this is the integer
Please stop
number.
noise.
Hello?
Sorry.
Okay, so we have negative $5 here. Which one is smaller in terms of value? Is negative 5 smaller or negative 1? Which one is smaller?
Negative 1.
Negative 5.
Negative
Well,
5.
Negative
Okay,
5.
so
Negative
the
1.
number line will help. Negative 5 is the smaller number, right? That
Yeah.
means I'm lower. I have less money in a sense. So negative 5 is actually smaller than negative 1. It's saying I'm owing more money. That means it's just going to take me a greater amount of dollars to get out of debt than it would negative 1. Think about it, if you owed someone $10 versus if you owed someone $50. Which one is technically smaller? It's the one that keeps down, down, down. The bigger in debt you go, is the smaller in value that you have. And so if you try to think of this when we deal with the negatives as money, it will really help out in understanding how to do the computations and the calculations. All right, so how much money would it take me if I was at negative $5 to get to $2?
7.
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you guys see that? And that's a positive 7 direction that we're going. So that means if I was to add $7 to my $5 debt, then $5 will go to paying off the debt, and then I will have $2 left. All right, keep that in mind so that hopefully we'll be the first class that understands the problems once we get to them. So remember, $5 in debt, it's going to take $7 to get out of the hole and then have a surplus of $2. Hopefully you see that. All right, and then how it also works is if I was at $5, then how much would I have had to spend in order to owe someone $2? So let's say I had it on my card, because on your card, there's something to go to.
7.
7.
Once again, 7. But this time, the 7 is in which direction?
Negative.
Backwards.
Negative.
Backwards.
Negative.
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 Negative
Negative.
is letting me know I'm going in the opposite direction, right? I'm going down, I'm going less. That's what the negatives and the positives help me realize. Now, it's not just money, it could represent position, like where are you located? So if I went back to my original screen there, if I can get back there, without any money, it could just represent that I'm standing in the middle, right? Let's just say where, I don't know, let's say Fontana is halfway in between the borders of California. So the eastern border, where we like touch with Nevada and like the coast, right? And let's just say Fontana is right smack dab in the middle, just for argument's sake. So here's Fontana. And what would the 1 represent? Well, the 1 would represent 1 unit, whether it's a mile, a yard, a foot. It would represent 1 mile to the east. What would the negative represent in this case?
One mile.
2 miles. 2 miles. 2
1
miles.
mile to the west, right?
Yes.
And I heard somebody say that would be a total of 2 miles from each other, right? So if I was here and someone else was here, how far apart would they be?
2 miles.
2 miles, right? So the integers also helps us out with direction. It lets us know where the middle is, and then the positives can represent one direction and the negatives another direction. And so this is where we go to something called absolute value. Before I do that, just remember it can also be vertical, right? Some parts of California are above sea level, whereas there's another one that's below sea level. Death Valley is actually below sea level. Now, sea level is where we measure everything. When somebody says how tall a mountain is, they're talking about how tall is it above sea level. When someone says how low a valley is, they say it's this many feet below sea level, right? So sea level is level. And it's just, if you've done construction, you know what a level is. That's to make sure that you build something very straight. So because water stays straight and flat, we use it as a marker, a benchmark to measure whether you're going up in a plane or below, underwater. And so, for instance, here we see a diagram to help us with positive and negatives. And so what you see is that at the 0 marker is the sea level. I try to make it a little bit creative there, and I put a little guy there swimming. I can go back and make sure I click on it. You see a guy there, he's swimming, right? He's at sea level. Then you see a scuba diver, and his hand is 1 unit below the sea level, right? If I had drawn a boat on here, let's say it's a sailboat, right? Sailboat's here. How tall would be the mast above sea level?
4.
4 units, right? And that unit could be meters, feet, whatever it is. It could be a toy sailboat, 4 feet. It could be a real sailboat that's super tall, 4 meters. It could be 40 feet, etc. Right? So, but basically you're getting the gist. If I had some giant little fish here swimming, how low below sea level would that fish be?
4. 4 below.
It'd be somewhere between 3 and 4, right? And does anyone know what that value would be? Halfway between -3 and -4.
3.5.
It'll be about -3.5, right? So this is down there. I'm just going to mute everyone because I'm picking up other conversations, and when there's a lot of people, it kind of adds on. So just when you're ready to speak, just remember on the right corner, just click unmute, and you can speak then. All right, so that's just an idea of how the negatives and positives work. And let me just let in Daniel C. And Marisol, everybody's coming in now. Hold on real fast. So we have Marisol Sanchez. All right, so where was I? So just to give you another example, let's say I was on a mountain hill, right? And on this mountain, I'm just enjoying the breeze. If I dove into the water, and stopped about there, how far would have I traveled?
6.
Yeah,
6.
Harry. 6? Yeah, that would be a total distance of 6 units, right? That should be up a little higher, but 6 units in all. But what direction did I go?
Negative.
Negative.
So that would be -6, right? The negative just lets me know that I'm going down 6 units. And what we're going to learn is how to do this without diagrams. When I have 4 and I take away 6, what is the answer that I get? And we're going to practice
-2.
this before, but
-2.
-2, right? And that's how the negatives and whatnot works. We like I said, we're going to practice it some more as we go on. But first, we just need to really understand visually, mentally, cognitively, what is happening with the negative numbers, why they exist. They are not silly. Some people are like, this is so stupid. It's not. It's real life situations that we have to understand how to measure things and equate them to what's happening in life. All right, so any questions so far of what we have covered?
No.
No.
All right, that sounds good. All right, so let me just, question?
Well, I was looking at the greatest common factor, but I know we're not into that. But that was something I was going to bring up with you. I've been looking over.
Right, who is this, Gennaro?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I tried to, or because you came in a little bit later.
Okay.
What was your question on it? Let me see what it is first.
Well, for example, there's a problem I'm working on, and I was watching this video, but it kind of threw me off a little because, for example, what is the greatest common factor for the numbers 24, 32, and 40? And in the video, it says one of the greatest common factors will be 2 times 2 times 2 will be 2, but then at the end it says 8. So I'm like, well, which one is it? 2? Is it 2 or is it 8?
We're getting to that as well. That's what we just
Okay.
call exponents. When you multiply a number by itself multiple times, you can split it up. You're learning about prime factorization there. In GED, you don't have to do prime factorization, but it's basically splitting up a number into its lowest non-divisible number, which is 2.
So,
And so if you multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 3 times, you get 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And so you can rewrite 8 as factors of 2. That's all that is doing. You don't have to do that in GED though.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's called prime factorization.
I'm over here studying it, thinking I have to do it.
Yeah, so that's called prime factorization. You don't have to do it unless they just remarkably decide to put it in without much fanfare there, but you don't have to know it.
Okay.
So
sounds good.
it's just, I don't know if you were in the class or anyone else, but I had mentioned there's a way to find the greatest common factor and the lowest common multiple of really, really, really large numbers. And I said it's called prime factorization. But I said you don't need to know it, but that's what they're showing you. They're showing you how you can use prime factorization to find it.
Okay.
But you don't have to here. So now that you know what it is, what you can look up is prime factorization, LCM, and GCF, and then you can see how it works if you really want to know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was part of the worksheet, so I was just going over it.
Oh, the worksheet had it on there?
Yeah.
Okay. At the end, I can review anything. So just remind me towards the end, and I could go over that. All right?
Okay.
Okay, so, and that's the same here. Any other questions that you might remember as we go on, just at the end, I can cover that as well. All right, so back to the integers. Just trying to get back to my mouse. Okay, with the integers, what we can now summarize is what we call the absolute value. So the absolute value is basically what we were doing before about east and west. Yeah, I got you, Daniel. I just saw your message, but yeah, I have you down. All right, so the absolute value is the distance from 0, right? So remember I was saying, like, if this represented east and this one represented west, and let's just say Fontana was right smack dab in the middle at 0, then the distance is always represented as a positive distance. So whenever we talk about absolute value, We're just saying what is the distance away from the middle, which is 0, which is we call the origin, right? Where did you originate from? Or what is the original answer? In that you see origin, and the origin is always 0. So if I was to travel 3 miles to the east, then it's still 3 miles. If I was to travel 3 miles to the west, then that's still 3 miles. It's still the same distance, but the positive and negatives let me know which direction. And that's what absolute value does. It's just saying, all right, now we're not talking about a value, we're just talking about direction. It can be the same when you're talking about like the distance of a plane from sea level versus a submarine from the sea level. When we just want to know the actual distance, we call that absolute value. And the way that we write absolute value is 2 big lines like this with the number in the middle. And the absolute value of 3, because it's always positive, is 3. And the absolute value of -3 is also positive 3. Whenever you take the absolute value of any number, it will be a positive value. And all that it means is the distance away from the origin, 0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Either way, still 3.
Other way is still 3. So just reminding you, the negatives can mean an actual value, such as with money, or it can mean distance, right? And if it's distance, it's just referring to direction. If it's -5 and I'm talking about below sea level, I'm just letting you know which direction I'm going. I'm going down. So if I say, let's say I say the Inland Empire is 30 feet below sea level, how would you write that? What number helps me to indicate? What sign do I put?
Minus.
Negative.
Negative.
-30.
30, right?
-30. -30.
And what if I said Fontana was 30 feet above sea level? How do I write that one?
+30.
Positive 30. And remember, you can either have the plus sign or no plus sign. No plus sign always indicates positive because we deal with positives on a day-to-day basis. So positive 30 can be written without the positive sign or with it. But that's the basic gist. And that value can either, that negative can be totally assigned to it to really indicate money like type answers, or it could just mean the distance away from the originated point, which we call the origin, right? And remember, original is how we started, right? Original just means the first. Originate means where did you start from? And that prefix, the origin, just means 0. All right, so let's go ahead and try some of this now. I think we're done on this PowerPoint. Oh, I actually had stuff in there. Yeah, so we're done with that, and let's go ahead and try it on the book. So we're going back to the book, and you can turn there. I think it was page 6.
Page 6.
What page?
6.
Sounds like
6.
6. So yeah, because I don't have. Okay, yeah, page 6. The page ahead to that. All right, so we looked at all the direct stuff. Now we're going to get into this very soon, but let's try number 1 first. Number 1 is based off of everything that I just did, and let's see if you really got it or not. This one always trips everybody up, right? I've taught many different classes, and number 1 can trip you up. So let's see if you guys can unanimously get the correct answer. In the morning, the temperature was -3 degrees Fahrenheit. By mid-afternoon, the temperature was 12 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the change in temperature between the morning and afternoon?
It would be C.
15.
C.
I heard C and D. Did
15.
I?
I say C.
I heard C and I heard 15. So I heard 9
D.
and I heard,
D.
and I heard D. D is in dog, right? That's what I'm hearing?
Yes. D.
Yes.
Yeah, D.
At mid-afternoon, the temperature was
I think it's C.
E.
C.
I heard C and D.
D.
9 degrees
I
Fahrenheit.
think
based on the
C,
chart,
C,
it's
Charles.
D. Based on the chart, because you start at the 3. So 3, 2, 1, 0, and then all the way to 12.
Okay.
Yeah. 15,
Right.
D.
Now I help you out with the diagram. And okay, I see D and C are the popular answers there. So if you remember what a thermostat looks like, or a thermometer, either one, the old school ones. Now everything's digital, but the old like mercury ones. You remember 0 would be in the middle if you're dealing with Celsius. With Fahrenheit, it could look a little bit different, but you got 0, right? And let's say that's 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, you might hear a lot of weather channels, or if you're from the cold, you hear people say it was minus or negatives, right? Below 0. That means you're in the negative round. So you're at -1, -2, -3. And then on the positive realm is up to 12. I'm going to have to skip a few to get there. So just
I'm
imagine
sorry, I
there's
changed my answer.
stuff there,
D.
and then there's a 12. I hear a change in answer. All right, so 12 degrees is up here. -3 is down here. What would be the total change if I was to count all those values?
15.
It would be 15, right? It's
Oh, there you
3
go.
units that you're traveling here. And then from 0 to 12, that's 12 units. So the total amount of units from the -3 all the way up, because remember the temperature was rising, all the way up to the 12 would be a total of 15. Yes, 15 because it increased. Okay, so that means if I wanted to write this out, that's where it gets confusing, sorry. The most common answer is that people say 12 subtract 3, right? You just look at it and bam. And how GED is, they like to put it right in front of you so that you're like, oh yeah, I got it right. So you got to be really careful with those ones. They like to do that. It's best when you're dealing with integers to try to picture it in your head first before you try any operation. Now the answer is D. That's the correct answer. Now the way to write it out is where it gets a bit tricky for some. But if you visualize it, a lot of times you could get around any issues you're having with the way to write it. Now the way to write it is basically you have 12 units that you're traveling, but because you're taking away, right? You're taking away from this amount, you're taking away a negative. And when we do that, there's a little rule that we have when this happens. Because we're technically saying 12, take away the 3 that's there, but it's a negative. So whenever we have 2 negatives right next to each other like that, it changes to a positive sign. And so then you have 12 plus 3, and 12 plus 3 is 15. Now, those are the rules that you see above. Because of understanding how the chart works, how it works visually, we can now come up with rules that we can carry on no matter what the situation is. So I'm just going to mute everyone one more time. So where was I? I was saying something. Anyway, so basically we're going to now go over how to do those rules. So I'm just going to clear that. And remember, if you ever get stuck, try to make sense out of it by drawing a diagram. If you can remember these rules, then you're kind of good to go. And I'll write them on the side as well, ones that are a little bit clearer after we're done. The first thing is how to add and subtract integers. Basically, if you're adding a positive number with a positive number, you already know how to do that. The problem is when you start to mix the signs with negatives. So the other 3. If you have something like -8 plus a +4, one of the best ways to think of it is to think of it as money and assign the money to the actual signs. So if I owed someone $8 and I had $4 and I decided to pay them, how much money would I be left with?
4. -4.
I'll still owe them $4, right? I'll be broke in a sense, but I owe them $4. So -8 plus 4 equals -4. Try to do that whenever you get encountered with the problem. If you forget the rules, which is very easy to do when we have so much information, try to make sense out of it. Mathematics is literally about making sense of our world. And if you take the time to make sense, most times you can think through it. All right? That's how you do a question like that. Another way to think of it is that if the integers have different signs, simply find the difference and use the sign of the number that has the bigger absolute value. Now, that has a lot of rules to it, so a lot of people forget it. But basically, if I had -9 plus 4, then I'll just simply say, what's 9 subtract 4? 9 subtract 4 is 5. And because the 9 is the bigger digit, not actually value, but the digit is larger, I'll keep the sign of the bigger digit. And so the answer is -5. So that's two ways that you can look at it. You can look at it as I have money, or I owe money, and now I have more money, or I'm about to have to take away money. Most people, when they think money, they get it right, because let's just be for real, we're not going to let people gyp us. And so when it comes to money, we normally are right on it. The second way, once again, is what I circled. If you have your book, you can make note of that, is that you simply subtract them, right? You just act like it's 9 subtract 4, right? Whenever you have opposite signs. And then you just keep the sign of the bigger number. So if I had 9 subtract 4, I subtract it, and because the 9 is bigger, I keep the positive. So 9 subtract 4 is +5, and -9 plus 4 is -5. Does that make sense? I know with integers we can get a little bit tricky here, but
Yes.
just let me know if you need to do some practice on that particular one.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Yes.
great. All right, so now let's try the other side. We have -5 subtract 9. Now this can get a little bit confusing because it can mix up with a rule right here, and this is where we have to be careful. This is where I really say having the money is using the money one is better, or even creating a number line. If you owe someone $5, that's -5, and you owe someone -9, how much do you owe them altogether?
14.
And so how do you represent that you owe them $14?
Because you already owe 5 plus 9.
You got it.
That's a total of 4. So you add those two numbers.
And you keep the sign of both of them.
Yes.
Right, and so that becomes -14. Right, so that's one of the ways that you can get around it. You really just got to find the way that you're going to remember the most. But if you understand it, makes it a little bit easier. So let's try another one. Let's say I had -6 plus -7. How much would that be equal to?
13.
-13.
-13, right? And just
Yes.
think money. Think, man, I have this guy $6 and I owe someone else $7. Man, I got to come up with $13 that I owe. And think O is negative. And there you have it, -13 is your answer. All right, then with the other side, this one is very similar to what we had over here. You treat it the same way. Just say 12 subtract 5 and keep the sign of the bigger number. Or I owe someone $5, I have $12, and if I pay them, how much would I have left?
$7.
+7.
Right? Or you could just say 12 subtract 5 and keep the sign of the bigger number. And because the bigger number is positive, it stays positive. Right? There are other ways that you can do it using a number line as well, like I showed you before. Let's say he was at -5. I'm doing this one here. And -9 was here. Sorry, not -9. Where's my undo? -5, and we had -6, -7. This doesn't take forever. -8, -9, -10, -11, -12, -13. And notice which direction I'm going, -14. I'm going the opposite way, dealing with negatives. All right, so let's say I was at -5, and I'm going to subtract 9. What direction is -9? Left or right?
Left.
Left, right? So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. -14. Right?
Yes.
Negative direction. Negative is letting me know which way I'm going. Am I going into debt? Am I going into riches? Am I going down? Am I going up? Am I going left? Am I going right, west, east? You get the picture, right? That's what the negative represents. Question?
No.
Okay. All right, so then we have subtraction. The rules are basically the same. I don't know if anyone needed that. All right, the rules are basically the same with subtracting integers. When you subtract integers, trying to get rid of this. When you subtract integers, this is where you have to be careful. This one right here. When you have that, the 8 subtract -5, that is what we were just doing with that number line. That's saying that I have 8 units between the 8 and the 0, and then it's saying I'm going down -5 units. So I'm at 8. And remember, when we go down, let's say I had 3 here. If I wanted to find out the difference between here, I would say 8 subtract 3, right?
Yes.
Subtract 3 is what gives me 5. So I'm doing the same thing here. I'm saying 8
It would be +3.
-5. But when you count that, you see that that's going to be 13 units. And so what happens is the rule that we have for when we write it out this way is that we're going to change whenever the signs are right next to each other. Not when the signs are like this, but when the signs are literally right next to each other, nothing else separating them. We change them into a plus sign. That's what allows us to compensate for what's in this diagram. 8 plus 5 is 13. Can anyone else not make out what I'm writing?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Ray, is it the same as negative times negative?
Well, we're not on the multiply yet, but yes, it is the same concept of negative times negative is a positive.
Yeah, Mr. Ray, I can't see anything you're writing on whatever, if you're writing anything, but you
Is that Daniel or somebody else?
Yeah, no, Daniel.
Okay, can you guys see what I'm writing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I can.
Daniel,
Yeah, I can see it.
is the video feed in the way?
No, I've moved that to the side, and I've been moving it back and forth. I just can't see where you're writing. I don't know.
Is your screen increased? Is it maximized? There's a little.
Yeah, it's maximized.
Oh, that's strange. Are you on a phone or computer?
I'm on a computer.
And you don't. What can you see? Can you see the numbers like that I just circled?
Nope. Which
What
is
do you
fine.
see?
I'll try and follow along. I mean, I get most of this concept, but trying to follow along, and I was like, well, where's he writing? I can't see it.
Well, what do you see?
Right now I see the operations with integers, then the subtract the integers, multiply and divide integers.
So you don't see nothing right now? Like, do you see me scribbling out the screen?
No, nothing at all.
That's strange.
Huh.
Yeah, I didn't even know what to say for that. I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing I could think of is that on your side, it's frozen, since other people can see it.
Yeah, and it's possible. I mean, I just can't see any of it, but okay. All right, sorry about that.
No, no problem. I was just trying to think, because I do want you to see it, as the visual really does help understand what you do there. The best thing I can say is to log out and log in. Sometimes it just needs a restart.
Right. To refresh? Okay.
Yeah, refresh. And
all right, then. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to log out.
Okay, yeah. That might help. Hopefully that does help. All right, so any questions, though, about the operations?
So far, so good.
All right, well, let's see. I'm going to change the screen real fast, and I'm going to write out some to try, and let's see how you guys do. All right, so we have, let's say we have 4, number 1. 4 plus -3. And I have here -5 plus 9. Number 3, we're going to have -2 subtract 3. Oops, I wrote 5. Number 4, let's have 8 minus -9. All right, let's try those real quick, numbers 1 through 4, and then we'll check to see what answers we have.
-3.
Got it.
Yeah, here, got it. Who's that? Salvador?
Yes.
Okay, send your answers in the chat. Let me see what you have for 1 through 4. right, so, okay, you sent it privately. The first one, that is right. The second one, yeah, yeah, that's correct. The third one, just check that one, and then last one's correct as well. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Daniel, did I let you in?
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, can you see the board? Can you see what I wrote on the board?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you should be back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a restart that's needed. So we're just trying those ones, so you could go ahead and try to catch up there. We're just seeing if everyone remembers how to do the operations that are there. All right, I see some more answers in the chat. Let's see. All right, so Dorcas and, who's that? Oh, Lenore and Gennaro. All right, so let's see what we have. Right, oh, that's decent. 1, 4.
No.
Hey, Dorcas.
I wrote the wrong one.
Latavia, 1.
Number 3 is, number 3 is negative. I give you number 4's answer for number 3. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you done. That's fine. I see what you got.
Let me do number 3 then. -2.
All right, I'm seeing some correct answers and some answers that need just a bit of tweaking. Remember, when you have a negative sign, try to think through the problem. One of the best ways is with money. So like number 1, think about it as you have $4. The plus sign is like and. So you have $4 and you owe someone $3. Think about how much money you would have if you had $4 and you owed someone $3. For the second one, think about it as you owe someone $5. You have 9 and it's payday. They want their money. How much money would you have? Number 3, you owe someone $2 and then you're going to take away $3 more by asking them for more money. How much will you owe them altogether? And then number 4, it's kind of hard to word. It's easier to draw. But that one's saying that you have $8 and then you're going to owe $9 more in a sense, but that one's kind of hard to word. Number 4 is just easier to draw out what you're doing. It's more like saying you have, it was 8 degrees Fahrenheit, and now it's below 9 degrees below 0. What was the total distance, or what was the total temperature change as a positive number?
Like number 4 is 8 minus, since the minus and the negative are together, like you said, you just add it.
So it's just.
So would it be 17?
All right, so for the most part, I'm seeing that a good bit of you are getting the answers. Some of it is just some signs that we have to work with, making sure we have the correct signs. But I see number 2 and number 4 seem to be throwing off a few of you. So let's go over each one. Some of you did get it correct, so as you see them, well done. If you did not, just make sure you pay close attention. And as I said in the beginning, if you were late, I said do not feel bad about integers. Most times this one can cause some time to get. It's just because we have to get used to dealing with negatives. But if you try to do so by associating it with things that you know about every single day, right? Elevation, money, distance, east and west, it makes it easier. So let's start with the first one. Let's just think of it theoretically. If I had $4, right? $4, and I owed someone $3, and they came today and was like, can you give me back my money? And I do. What would I be left with?
$1.
$1, right? So it's just 4 plus -3. Another way to think of it is 4 take away 3 keep the sign of the bigger number. Since the bigger number is 4, then it's 1. All right, so that would be $1. So if you did not get that, make sure you fix it and make a note why. Number 2, you have to be careful as well. You're dealing with negatives, so don't rush in. You owe someone $5. They ask you, can you pay them back today? They need the $5. You look in your wallet, you have enough to pay them. You have $9. How much money will you have left once you pay them? $4, right? That's one of the easiest ways to do it. We're very good with money. At least I hope everyone is good with money. But we are normally very good with money. Even someone who doesn't pay attention in school, when it comes to money, they are normally really good with it. So think money,
Yes.
right? Okay, this one here, same thing, right? Think about what the signs mean. What would this mean? Somebody tell me. -2.
-2.
Pay you all.
I owe what?
$2.
$2.
Then I'm going to owe 3 more, right? Take away is like owing. So how much would I owe altogether?
5.
And how would I write that?
-5.
Negative
Right,
5.
less 5, -5, right? You have to indicate that sign. That sign is important, very important, right? If you leave out the sign, it's a completely different number. Just to kind of remind you, -5 is here and 5 is over here. If I forget the negative, what's the distance between these two numbers?
10.
10. They are far, far apart. Right, so we do not want to forget the sign. That sign is important. So if you have written 5, unfortunately on the GED test, it would be wrong. And most times the correct answer has the opposite sign on there if you're dealing with integers. So you would see in the multiple choice, -5 and 5. So you must be careful. And sometimes they put the wrong answer first. And that, ooh, man, I just cleared everything. And that can mess people up. So be very mindful. So far, if you have 1 for -5, you are on the right track. If not, as usual, I'll send a worksheet to practice this some more. All right, the second one, now we start the last one, number 4. What do we do when we have 2 negative signs in the middle?
Add.
Plus, Adam.
Add them. So we want to change that to a plus sign. So you have 8 plus 9. And what's 8 plus 9? Because then you have to add it correctly.
17.
That's 17. Be very careful. I saw a few 15s on there. Just be mindful of the last part, the addition. Now, once again, the reason why we're adding, think of it in the Fahrenheit scale. If this was 0 and -9 was down here and +8 was up there, and you went from -9 degrees up to 8 degrees, what would be that total distance? Now, if you did that, that's 9 units here, 8 units there, so it's a total of 17. Now, the reason why we write it like that, once again, if I had 3 here, how would I find out what the distance is between 8 and 3? What do I do? What would be the distance between 8 and 3?
5.
5, but how did you get 5?
Because you went from the 3 up to 8. And that's
Right,
3,
what's
4.
the quickest? 8 minus 3, right?
Right.
It's the same thing here. To get from 8 to -9, I say 8 subtract -9. But as we saw, what we're doing there is we're going to change that to a sign to an addition. And it becomes 8 plus 9, and that fulfills what we can visually see and conceptually, hopefully understand. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's good. Let's try one more set, and let's throw some little doozies in there. I'm not sure if anyone's copying this. And going once, going twice, gone. Okay, number 5. Let's try 2 minus -2 minus -3. Like I said, I was gonna throw some doozies. Let's say I had 4 plus -4 plus -3. Number 7, -10 minus -12. And one more. Make it really easy. 0 minus -1. Well, somewhat easier. All right, so once again, you can send your answers. It allows me to see what you're doing at least.
After I had it, the pluses. Y. And then 7. Minus 7. Minus 2. 22. And 5. 7. And then 17. And then minus 1.
Okay, so I see some answers have popped in. Just looking over them. All right, so I'm just gonna, while we're waiting, I'm gonna send some answers to you guys privately. So at least try to. Forgot how many people in here. I have to find names. Let's see who else has sent one. Okay, Latavia, that's correct, since you got them all right. And same with Veronica. Some of you guys are seeing some private messages from me. Gennaro, since you sent that to me. Veronica, I didn't know you sent that to everyone. All right, so I kind of gave away the answer there with that one. So let's start over it. I was trying to send it privately. Veronica, I thought you sent me a message privately. So if you heard what I said to Veronica, you could just scroll up. All right, let's start with the first one. I was watching all of your answers and I was responding privately, because I kind of gave away the answer. Let's start with the first one. Now this one can be a bit tricky, right? You see all these negative signs. The first thing is, do not allow for your emotions to take over. First thing you do is, oh, why? I'm gonna put all these negatives, right? Don't allow that to happen. Think carefully and say, what did I learn? What did you learn about when two negatives are right next to each other? Nothing else separated them.
You multiply.
You
they
add.
become a positive, right? No multiplication yet. So they become a positive. So you're going to have -2 plus 3. That's the first thing. And it does help you out if you rewrite it. I know when I was younger, when I was in university, my professors used to say, you need to write out your steps. And I was like, I don't want to write them out. I just wanted to get through and be done. But writing them out can save you headaches. It can save you time, right? So write it out step by step. So you have -2 plus 3. And let me change this color because it's messing me up. So it might mess up someone else. Seeing the same color there. All right, so we have -2 plus 3. Now, if I was to convert that into monetary scenarios, what would that mean? -2 plus 3.
That means you owe you $1.
I owe $2. I have $3. Person comes asking for the money.
You still have $1 left.
I still have $1 left, right? -2 plus 3 is 1. On a number line, if you like number lines, you could draw the number line. -1, -2 is here. This is where I am. And I'm going to count 3 units to the right because it's positive. So 1, 2, 3. And then write on the number 1. So positive 3 direction from -2. Right? That could have been done vertically as well. And then remember the third option that we could have done, we just say we subtracted. So we just say 3 subtract 2 equals to 1 and keep the sign of the bigger number. Since the bigger digit number is positive, it stays positive. Right? So those are 3 different ways that you can look at getting that answer to be 1. And if you needed that, I can undo that and you can see it again. Just let me know. All right, so if you got 1, that is correct. How about number 6? What would be the answer for that one?
-7.
7.
That's -7, right? And once again, you can just, there's a few ways around that. Excuse me. You could think of it as you owe someone $4 and you owe someone $3. How much do you owe them?
So -7.
7. And how do you represent owing somebody money?
-7.
-7, right? Again, you can draw a number line if that helps, right? -3, let's just say 0's there. And -4, well, I started at -4. So you're at -4. Either one, you can start at -3 and count 4 back, or -4 and count 3 back. So it don't really matter. They're right next to each other. But no matter which one you pick, let's say you start at -4. -3 means to go to the left 3 units. So 1, 2, 3. So that's -3 units to the left.
Mr.
Similarly,
Wright,
yes.
Why the plus line in between the 4 and the 3? What is that? Its significance?
It's just, well, it depends on how you word it. When we get to algebra, you can word it, and even fractions. In fractions, we use the plus sign to say and. So if you had an iPad and a Samsung, how many items do you have?
2.
2, right? You add them together. You add your 2 items. So the word and indicates adding. So that's why I say you owe someone.
No, but I'm confused on how you have the plus and then the minus sign right in the together.
Well, yeah, because you're saying that you, that's what I'm trying to say. If I owe someone $4,
yeah,
and I owe someone $3, what does that word and indicate? It indicates addition, right? It indicates adding.
Yes,
If I say Clemente and Dorcas and Lenore come, how many people come to my office?
3.
3, because the word and indicates addition.
Okay.
So when we say -4, I owe someone $4, and I owe someone $3, then I put an addition sign in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Right, so that's
Gotcha.
why, all right, perfect. All right, so remember I just showed -4. If I had -3 and I wanted to take away 4, either way, it didn't really matter which one I did. If I had owed someone $3 and I was going to owe someone, borrow $4 from that person again, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Still gets me to -7. As long as you remember the directions: negative to the left, positive to the right, negative down, positive up, right? That's basically And it's going to help you when you get back to algebra because we're going to be graphing. All right, let's get on to number 7. Number 7, there are two answers popular answers that kept popping up for number 7. They were 22 and 2. Those were the two answers that I kept seeing. 22, negative, it's really 3. So negative 22, positive 22, and positive 2. Those were the 3 answers that kept popping up. One of those are correct. But let's go over which one it is. First of all, what should we do there looking at number 7?
Make it a plus.
Make it a plus. That's what you want to start practicing. Soon when you see that, you are making that into a plus sign, right? And that means this, the two negatives that are right next to each other. Write whatever you have to write to remember that. Draw a face. When I was finally starting to learn how to take good notes, I used to do stuff like this. Important. And then I would like draw somebody screaming at myself like, important, right? And I'll try to do anything that I could to remember. I have to remember that, right? Do something like that, right? If you look at some of my notes, it'll look crazy, but it helped me to remember. And so, you know, don't worry about if it looks silly. If you remember how to do it, you can pass. And that's what you're aiming for, is to pass this information. And for unit 1, remember it after you pass too. All right, so that changes to a plus sign. So you have negative 10 plus 12. Once
Equals
again,
2.
there's positive 2, right? Think money. If I owe someone $10, I have $12, they're like, hey, need my money. And you're like, man, I only have $12, give me my money. And you give them the $10. How much money do you have left? $2, right? That's your answer. Negative 10 plus 12 is 2. Right, and you could draw a number line here as well. I'm going to have to try to just make it look smaller because we'll be here all day. So let's just say that's 1 and that's 12, right? To get from 12 to 0 would be 12 units. To get from 12 to 1 is 11 units. To get from 12 to 2, that's 10 units. That means I took away 10 from it to get to 2. Right, so hopefully the more you see this, the easier it will get. But remember, if you think money, you're more than likely going to remember it. And as long as you remember that rule.
So, Ray?
Yes.
So I mean, I got my answers. I know only got one correct, but I got confused when I saw negative 2 minus, you know, the 3. I just assumed that negative 2 and negative 3, and I just add them, and obviously it was, you know, you just said now. So I'm good. I got it.
All right, perfect. And what you do there, if you guys heard what Salvador did, that's a form of what we call reflection, right? When you reflect over why you got something wrong, you're more likely to remember it the next time, not to do it. And, you know, never, ever. I used to tell my students when I was teaching high school, never throw away a test you failed. It may drive you bananas looking at the grades, but if you go back over, especially if you have a teacher that writes notes in there, I used to write notes, why you should do this next time, to review it, because once you do, as I used to say to you guys before, failure is about stepping stones to success. Reviewing why you got something wrong will help you and prevent you from doing it again. If you just throw it to the side, you are bound by human nature to possibly make that same mistake again in the future, right? If you don't review why you did it wrong. All right, so we have negative 10 plus 12. All right, the last one here, what would this one be?
Negative 1.
Close.
Plus 1.
Plus 1. What do you notice here?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Plus 1.
Those two negatives are going to make a what?
Positive.
Positive. So that's going to be 0 plus 1, and 0 plus 1 is
1.
1.
All right. So, like I said, I'm going to send a worksheet in. Let me just write that down. Somebody took my notepad. I'm going to send another worksheet so you guys have that LCM and GCF worksheet. Integers worksheet. Okay, we're going to go back now to the student book and bring in some real life questions. Unless you have a question about this. Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
let me go back to number 7. Can I think we put it this way, minus 12 minus 10? How will it look like?
Say that again. You said minus 12 minus 10.
Minus 10. Let's do it the reverse. Use 12 in
Right.
position of 10.
Right. So, go ahead.
Yeah, let us do that number 7. Let's assume it is minus 12 minus 10.
Right. So what I have right here, right? Okay. So the same rules. The first thing you should notice is to do what?
We don't see it.
Change what?
The plus.
Right. You want to change that to
minuses
plus.
to pluses.
So you have negative 12 plus 10.
No,
Think money. Now think money. So you owe someone $12. They come to your door. They're like, I need that $12 now. And you're like, all I have is 10. It's like, well, give that here. Then what happens? What's your relationship now with the person?
-2.
You owe them $2, right? Negative 2. Is that
I'm saying
starting to
that's
make sense?
can it just be minus 12 minus 10? Can it look like that?
I mean, it can, but most people are going to get confused by it. You want to make sure you remember what minus means.
Okay.
Remember, minus, when we use the thermometer, saying that we're at 10 degrees, 0, and negative 12. It's like saying that I'm 12 degrees below 0, and the temperature moves up in the day to 10 degrees. What was the total temperature rise there? Now, you have to understand that, because most people, when they see negative 12 minus 10, they don't think about what it's really saying. They just see minus signs. And so if you can remember that it's you're adding, fine. If you can remember to draw out the diagram, even better. But you just really want to make sure you know what's really happening is you're adding, because the distance between negative 12 and 10, I wrote this one down wrong. That should have been written differently. Let me just make sure I wrote that out right. Negative 12, and we have positive 10. That was drawn out differently. Hold on.
Okay.
This one's saying you have negative 12, and right, so this one is saying that you are actually going up 10 units. Right, so you're going up 10 units to, I wrote positive 2 there, negative 2. Hold on, let me start over. Forgive me, it's late at night. We have negative 12, and we're going up 10 units to negative 2. And so when you do this one, you notice that's a 10 unit move. Now remember, what you're basically doing is that you are, and I wrote that one wrong too, but anyhow, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm like really tired today. I'm writing down the answer and the working. Is negative 12 and negative 10, forgive me. I kept writing the answer in there. Negative 10 is here. There we go. So the question is, what is that movement? Sorry, kept writing the same thing over and over. So we have negative 12 to 10 to negative 10. How much did you go up? Right, that's up 1, 2 units, or down 2 units, because you're really going from the negative 10. So from the negative 10 down to the negative 12 is a negative 2 unit movement. So as long as you remember that when it's written in that form, it's fine that you remember that. And just remember that when it's in this number line system, you are subtracting. And so it's, well, how do I get there? Well, the rule is basically whenever you see the 2 negatives, always remember to add. And that's how you get the real answer in its visual form. I'm hoping that makes sense, but the reason why we really want to stress that this is the most incorrect answer that you would get by anybody in the world, is what to do right there. So when you see the negatives right next to each other, what do?
You add.
Change them.
You add them, turn it to a positive, change it. Trust me on it. I've been teaching for many years. I'm taught at many different levels, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that students will always run into. But it comes from a visual understanding that you are changing it to addition. All right, now the other thing is that when we get to the calculator, you could do it on your calculator part, but you do have to do some parts without any calculator, so you want to definitely practice it. Now the other thing is the multiplication and division rules, and those are pretty straightforward. They follow the same concepts of multiplication and division rules of integers. So this is for integers. And basically, if you have a positive times a positive or a positive divided by a positive number, your answer will be a positive answer. If you have a negative, if you have a negative value and you multiply it by a positive value, does anyone know what the value would be?
What is that? A negative plus
It'll be
It's a
negative.
negative.
If you have a positive value multiplied by a negative value, what will your answer be?
A negative.
Negative. And then lastly, if you have a negative times a negative, what will your answer be? Think back to what we just done.
Positive.
Positive.
Positive, right? That way you can always remember that. Two negatives right next to each other, positive. Okay, so these are the multiplication rules. So if I have positive 2 times positive 2, positive 4. If I have negative 2 times positive 2, negative 4. If I have positive 2 times negative 2, negative 4. And if I have negative 2 times negative 2, it will be a positive 4. Basically, if your signs are the same in multiplication or division, your answer will be positive. If your signs are opposites of each other in multiplication and division, your signs will be negative. All right, so we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna give a worksheet that will have this opportunity to practice it in its raw form. But
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Sure, who was that?
It's Daniel Bohorquez, B.
Just trying to get to your side, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so anytime you're multiplying or dividing, a negative and a negative is always going to be positive. Okay, I see it now. I didn't see how you had it written out before. Sorry about that. Okay,
Oh,
I
okay,
got
no
you.
problem. All right, so let's try it out. Let's say I had 2 times negative 3. Let's say I had 18 divided by negative 9. Let's say I had negative 14 times negative 2. So I had negative 10 divided by negative 2. Okay, what would be my answers with the correct signs?
Mr. Ray, I can't see the screen. The first one is 2 times negative 3.
Yes, 2 times negative 3.
And then the second one is 18 divided by negative 9.
That's correct.
The third one is negative 14 times negative 2.
That's correct as well.
And then the fourth one is negative 10 divided by 2.
Negative 2.
Negative.
Negative 10 divided by negative 2.
Oh, negative 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So just by looking at them, we could see what type of number it'll be, right?
Hopefully, that's the goal.
Like the first one, what can I guess?
See it.
Yeah, I already looked through it.
Who?
Well, the first one should be a negative number.
Okay, let's go over the answers one by one. So number 1, what would be the answer?
A negative.
Yeah, I heard negative from Gennaro. Does everyone agree? Would it be a negative?
Yes.
Okay, and
Negative
what value?
6.
Negative what?
Negative 6.
Negative 6.
Negative 6. Okay, how about the second one? Negative or positive?
Negative.
What would be the answer?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. And Justine, those are correct answers, so well done. How about the third one? Negative or positive?
Positive.
Positive.
Positive, right? 2 negatives are going to make a positive. So negative 14 times negative 2 is going to give us positive 28.
28.
Yeah. And how about the last one? Negative or positive?
Positive.
Positive.
And negative 10 divided by negative 2 is?
Positive 5.
Positive 5.
Positive 5.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to do any more? Most times this one is considered easier, but that's literally multiplication and division.
Yeah. For subtraction is the one that is a little bit more confusing because originally written down it's just identified because of the sign. It tells you that it's a subtraction. You would have to say find the difference. But once the signs start coming into play, it can turn into an addition, and then just being able to assign the proper sign. But on these, it's very simple. It's
Oh yeah,
two
very
times
straightforward.
2 times 3 is just remembering the rule. Equal signs are positives. Signs that differ will be a negative, and you just carry through with the same operation, whether it be a multiplication or a division.
Right, that's it.
Okay.
It's the same when we get to fractions. Most people will struggle with addition and subtraction of fractions, but multiplying and dividing fractions, a breeze. And you'll see, like, we could literally spend like 5 minutes learning to multiply and divide fractions. But addition and subtraction, that could take 2 hours. You know, it's sometimes the addition and subtraction is harder than the multiplication and division. So like I said, the more we practice, the better it will get. So once you get the worksheet, you know, really try to understand it. And oh, I almost forgot. Since we're about to transition, did anyone remember to teach their peers, their friends, their relative? Anyone did it?
I kept on going back and forth, and finally I was able to. I was talking to my siblings, and they all going to college, so obviously they all knew the answer, but but it helped me, you know, repeat it, and they understood what I was talking about.
Right, and that's good too. And if you get somebody who knows what they're doing, they can correct you if you say something wrong. So that's good as well. So if you have somebody willing who knows how to do it already, that's a plus as well. As they can say, oh wait, well you should change it up here. They could give you some insight. But well done, Salvador. You'll see the more you do that, the more you will remember and understand, and the easier it gets. Never be afraid. Don't be afraid. Like some people are like, oh, I can't do that. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Don't worry about if somebody's going to laugh at you in your family, that's the wrong person, of course. But you really want to practice explaining yourself and how to do a concept. Anyone else? Thank you, Salvador. Anybody else took the time out to try to explain to someone how to do it?
No.
Dorcas, looks like you might have.
My boys were like, because I have 4 boys and I have those that they are very good in math.
Right.
So they kind of told me, oh, that's a baby math. I should know it by now. So I told them, it's okay. I'm just refreshing my memory so you guys can teach me. So.
Well, that's good as well. Conversation with mathematics is also shown to help with retention. So if you're conversing with people about it, that's a plus as well. Leonora, did you have your hand up? Your mic is muted.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just I was trying to send a message, but I don't know. I was just trying to figure out. That's why I was pressing different buttons. Sorry.
Oh, make sure you go to the bottom. Just take your mouse down. You see a chat thing pop up. You want to click the chat. I'll send you a message. That way you can find out where it is. And if you want it just for me, make sure that it says just my name and not everyone.
Yeah, it was just for you. Yeah. That's
okay. Yeah. So I just sent you a message there. You should see it light up.
Okay. I see.
All right. So anyone else? Anybody else tried it? And don't feel discouraged if, you know, you're making sure that you learn it. Like I said, you guys in class, I got into math because I was trying to be an engineer, and I had poor math skills, just to be honest. My math skills were subpar. And so I had to take remedial math in college. It was embarrassing because most of my friends were taking calculus and pre-calculus, and they're like, what math are you taking? I'm like, I'm taking remedial math. It's very embarrassing at the university level, but I had to rebuild. And even as I got up higher, I used to tell people, I actually went and purchased, I can't remember the name, it's like a Cliff Notes book or something like that. And I had to teach myself basic arithmetic, this stuff here. I had to literally teach myself because I didn't know it. You know, I played around in high school. We had one of those really, one of my math teachers, he had no control. We used to play like Need for Speed on computers and play video games in the class. And he gave me a B. I didn't know anything, but I got a B+ in math. It didn't reflect what I knew, and I had to literally start from scratch. And I did. I started from scratch and went right up beyond calculus. Calculus is considered a first-year level course. I did 400 level, 500 level math, did a master's in it as well. And so sky is the limit, like literally, right? I did horrible in my SAT score, right? That's why I had to take remedial math. I didn't know what I was doing. I was drawing, like literally, I was so confused that I was just creating diagrams. When you fill in the blanks, I was like doing like diagonal lines and whatnot. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. But when you're hungry to learn, the sky is the limit. So keep that in mind. Don't let anyone deter you, not even yourself. All right, so let's move on. If there are no other questions, we're gonna go back to the trying to get there, to the book. And we're gonna try some of these GED style questions. Now that we have the skeleton, we're gonna put some muscle and flesh on this. And Lenore, did you get the chat? Were you able to find it?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Okay, just waiting to see. All right, so let's go ahead and try one of these. Number 2 is something easy. Will help bridge the gap into the more challenging one. So let's try number 2 real fast. It says, I don't know how to say that. Ewan has a balance of $154 in her savings account. She withdraws $40 from a cash machine. What is her new balance? That should be pretty easy.
114.
There we go. Right? 114. Most of you probably did that in your head. Okay, so now let's start to go into the real integer type questions. Number 3. In a board game, Dora moves 3 spaces back and forward again 8 spaces in 1 turn. You know, those type of games. What is her net gain or loss of spaces? So where is she now? She went 3 spaces back. Sorry, I read that wrong. Sorry, forward. She went forward 3 spaces, back 4 spaces, and then forward again 3 spaces. What is her total movement there?
7.
7.
Okay, her 7.
Plus 3, -4, plus 8.
Okay, I heard the different answers. Lenore, I got your message. Yeah, I did get it. Sorry for not responding that time. I thought I did send you one, but I could totally understand that. But yeah, I could send you the information afterwards if you do need to exit. And I am working on getting those recorded videos on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch them, I know I'm behind. I just have a lot to do. So I'll try to get those for everybody. All right, let's go over the answer. You're going forward 3, so you can put a +3. You're going back 4, so you could put plus -4 or just -4. That's a little trick you could do. And then forward again 8. All right, I see different answers. I heard 7 from somebody. I see 7, -1, 7, and 9 as answers. One of those are correct.
7.
All right, someone boldly said 7. But let's look at it. We could do it one by one. We'll learn about the order of operations soon. But 3 plus -4, how much is that?
-1.
It's -1. Remember, you owe someone $3. Sorry, you have $3. You owe someone 4. You're left with -1. You got -1 plus 8.
7.
Owe someone 1 plus the 8 will give us 7. So 7
Oh, your mind.
will be the answer there. So well done, Gennaro, Dorcas, Marisol, Latavia. Those are the correct answers. Now it gets a little bit more challenging. Number 4. Number 4 has bigger numbers, so you have to be really careful there. It says there were 3,342 students enrolled at a university. So that's your starting amount. Of those students, 587 graduated in May. When somebody graduates, do they come back to the school the next year?
No.
So they're gone, right? 587 students graduated in May. But during the summer, 32 students also left. So there are some more students leaving. And then the last thing, 645 students enrolled in the fall. How many students were now enrolled in the fall? Now, questions like these are the same type of questions that those girls you meet at the front desk at Fontana, they have to do stuff like that. Figure out what's the current enrollment at Fontana Adult School. This is the stuff that they do. So go ahead and try that.
That one is
I think 3,368.
it's a long process.
Okay, I heard an answer. Let me write them down as I hear them. What was one?
368.
368?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one answer we have. Adriana and Veronica also agree.
We have to solve everything, right, Mr. Ray?
Say that again?
We have to like solve everything, like.
Evaluate everything. Yeah, you're gonna have to put all the numbers in there and try to figure that one out.
I think when I did it, I got 26 because I don't know if I need to explain my steps.
Yeah, you can. You can explain what you did.
Yeah, what I did, the first step was I added 587 plus 32, which gave me 619. And then I subtracted, let me see, I subtracted 3,342 minus 619, and then I got 2,723. Then I added 645, which gave me 3,368, and then I subtracted 3,342. Then I ended up with 26.
Oh, okay. You didn't have to do that last step.
Okay.
Can I ask you why did you do the last step? I just want to see what you were thinking when you.
Oh, you know what? I think I was doing it. I think it was a continuation. Let me see.
Oh, okay. You're doing number 5, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was a continuation.
Okay, so yeah, number 4.
Yeah.
And looking at the time, number 4, that is the answer. Most of you, almost every question I see is saying one different answer there. And I think that's just a slight mistake. But yeah, most of you have the correct answer. And you said it as well, Dorcas. It's 3,368. That's what George said in the very beginning. So all of you that wrote that, that is correct, right? You would have had 3,342. And you could do it 2 different ways. You could do it as Dorcas said it. Dorcas added these 2 together and then subtract it. You can do that. That's a math property. And then she added the 645 to that number. Or you
Hey,
could
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I got 3,568. Why do I have 200 more than?
Tell me what you did, and we could probably figure that out.
Okay, so I took 3,342.
Right.
And I added 645. Then I added 587 to 32, and that total amount, I subtracted it from my, I just went,
Okay,
I took.
So your theory is correct. So more than likely it was just a slight error in your calculations.
Huh. So, see, okay, so I added 3,342 plus 645, and then I added 587 plus 32, which is 419, and I subtracted 419 from 3,987, and it gave me, so I just probably, my math was wrong then.
Yeah, it's probably just some small little error. You said you got, let me just use the calculator real quick, make it faster. So when you say you're 587 minus 32, what did you get?
419.
That might be where you went. You said 5. Say it to me one more time. I just want to see where you might have went wrong.
587 minus 32 gave me 419.
Oh, so why did you subtract them?
No, I added it. I'm sorry, I added it.
Okay, so you added those together, right? You added 587 and 32, right?
One second. Yes.
And you got 619 or 419?
400. See, that was wrong.
That's where it is.
I got
619.
619, yeah.
And that's where the 200 difference is.
That's my 200. Awesome. So okay, good.
All right, perfect.
So yeah, I did it that way. Thank you.
So yeah, so your theory was right. Just got to be careful with that one step there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's late at night too. You saw me. I kept writing the same thing over and over. like stock on a record. So that can happen at times. So just be mindful. Most times you will not be taking a test at night, so that makes it easier. Taking it in the evening can really, mess you up, and I don't think they even allow that. So you will take it during the day when you're more alert. Just got to make sure that you had enough sleep. All right, number 5. What would be the answer for number 5? It just says, what is the change in the number of students? So here's an amount in fall, and then the amount in spring. What would be the change between those two numbers?
I think it should be 555.
So it's going to be less than that. The change between these two circled numbers.
It should be 555.
26.
Okay, I heard two numbers, but I'm just looking at the time. So the answer would be 26 here. We're looking at the difference between the students in May and then fall. So here's fall and
26.
And then May is, okay, so this could be what's throwing off anyone. The students graduated in May, but in May they were still they're still considered part of the students until summertime. So that could throw you off. So I could see why you were saying the number that you're saying. But in terms of May, you're actually including that 3,342 in the subtraction. So it's these two numbers that you subtract. 3,342
Oh, wow.
and 3,368.
2,997 is the difference.
Say that again?
2,697.
Is the difference or the
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's the difference. So let me write this one out. So in the hello?
Go ahead.
Does somebody want to say something? All right, so for this one we have 3,368, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how many we have in the fall. In May, before the students graduated, right, we're just going to take May as May. The graduation's in May, that's going to be May 15th, May 30th, so we just take May's amount, right? So we subtract 3,342. Those are the two that we'll subtract to get number 5. Right? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Everybody sees that? And because the 3 and the 3 is the same, you can basically just subtract 68 and 42. And if you do that, that's going to be 26.
Got it.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, I'm getting it.
Okay, any questions with that one? I mean, I know it could throw you off with the wording. It's kind of an assumption there, but
The word problems are what's always thrown me off. That's my biggest thing I'm trying to overcome. Or the word problems are what got me in the past 2 pre-tests.
And that's why, hopefully you got it. That's why they gave out the student book, because I had requested it in a few other math teachers, and then they just did it for everybody. But that's why you should have the student book and the workbook.
Yeah, I have both.
Okay, so remember,
this is going through them.
This is for everyone. Yeah, you're practicing that workbook. Like you're eating, sleeping it. You want to get used to those word problems. They work in tandem. If you take the GED test, you're going to see similar questions. As you higher up you go, the more and more they're going to look alike. So the more you're exposed to them, easier.
Like you said, practice makes perfect. And I was supposed to take my test back in March, but throughout the whole COVID thing, I feel like you said a couple classes ago, you said you get rusty. I stopped going over
and
it.
if you don't use it, you lose it, sadly. So you have to continually practice. Dorcas, did I see your hand up?
Yes. So which do we work more on the workbook or the student book? Which one?
Workbook is for home. The student book, we do it together.
Okay.
Workbook is home.
So the workbook, that's why at the beginning of class, I normally ask, is there any questions from the workbook?
Okay.
So remember, you want to use that workbook. The workbook has more challenging questions at times and just more questions, more variety of questions. And that gives you the opportunity to work 5 days out of that week on practicing it, right? Learn the concept, practice the concept. Learn it, practice, teach it to somebody else. If you keep doing that, you will master it. All
I
right,
have a question.
what time is it? Let's try, I think we might be able to finish all of these. Let's try them real quick. Number 6, very similar to what we've done before. Sasha's home, 212 feet above sea level, right? It's hard to underline in these new tests. They give you a whiteboard now, so you just might want to make a note. And this one's above sea level. What does that mean?
Plus.
Plus, right? That's plus 12. I mean, plus 212, sorry. Plus 212. She participated in a scuba dive in which she descended to 80 feet below sea level.
Yes.
Which integer describes Sasha's change in position from her home to the lowest point in her dive? The question is the important piece. Excuse me. What was the change from her home to the lowest point? Sometimes drawing this out could help. Right? Let's say that's the water. Her home's up on it.
292.
Yeah, her 292.
Yeah.
Now notice there's two 292s there. So which one?
Positive.
Yeah, here positive 292. And I have messages in the chat. I see negative 292 and positive 292 as answers as well. So some are saying positive, some are saying negative for the 292. Remember, drawing it out could help, right? We have some water here, some land, houses up here.
32.
Positive 132?
Swimming down bottom. That's her swimming. I hear positive 292, negative 292.
D.
Then I see C as well. So I have two answers that are saying C. So, you know, her house, if we used to draw it out here, that would be 212 feet there.
C, I think.
She's swimming down, way down here at 80 feet. This represents 0 at the water level. Trying to help out. So think about that one. Okay. So the famous answers here are A, C, and D. And okay, I have a B there too. So all of them, right? Everybody's given an answer, A, B, C, or D. One of these have to be correct. Well, let's think about this. How far is it from her house to the water?
212.
212, right? Now this is where you have to be careful. The question changes how we want to look at it. They want to know what was the total distance from the highest point, which is her home, to her lowest point that she dove. So if she dove from her house to the water level is 212 feet, how far from the water level to where she swam?
132.
How much?
80 to where she died, right?
80. So how much is that all together in terms of how far down she went?
292.
Now this one, you got to be careful because this is where they get you. If you think plus 212 and negative 80, and you add that, you're going to get a different number than plus 212 plus 80. But both numbers will be there.
Mr. Ray.
Yes.
Negative.
Wouldn't the accurate way to write it down, it would be 212 minus 80 and then solve it like that?
That's one way, but then you have to do one more thing there. So
Okay.
let's look at it. Is she going down or up?
Down.
Down.
Going down.
Fine, as we get to the final answer. Now, if you were to write it out correctly, I don't know who had asked me that just now. I think it might have been
Jacob.
Jacob asked, okay. Technically, yeah, the way that we would write that is, if you wrote it the correct way, would be
Plus 12
minus 80, which
There you
turns
go.
12 plus 80, but we're still not done.
Ooh.
That is 292. But they ask you here, what is the change in position? Did she go down or up?
Down.
She went down.
Now, if she went from the scuba diving position up to the house, how would you represent that differently from the house down to the scuba diving
Positive.
position?
Negative.
So one would be positive, one would be negative. So what would be the answer for this one?
Negative 292.
This one would be negative 292.
Ooh.
Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Not quite.
Yes.
Let's first of all, let's go over the theory. Let's say she could dive from her house. Let's say she could jump from her house into the water to that position. How would you indicate which direction she went? How would you say whether she went up and flew versus jumped down to the ground?
I see.
Descending?
Yes. How do you represent descending versus
A negative.
A negative. So
No.
you know your answer must have a negative sign there because they're looking for the change in position. So you're looking for a negative sign in the front.
Got it.
Now,
okay.
This is kind of more higher level. We're going to learn this some more. You could put it in parentheses now to say, I know my answer is negative, and now let me work it out. So the rest of my answer would be 212 minus 80. And that's going to be equal to minus 212 plus 80, which is going to be equal to minus 212 plus 80 is 292. And so that's negative 292. That's my final answer. And so A would have been the answer there.
Okay, so to understand this answer a little bit better, because originally how I asked, what would be the appropriate way to write it down? 212 minus 80, and just normally, because of how you've been teaching us how to do it, the answer would have been positive 292. But the factor that would change that is because it's asking for that specific change in position, what that actually looked like for her.
Right.
And that changes the whole game
That
into
changes
a negative.
the whole way of answering that.
Okay.
If they just asked what was the distance, it would have just been 292.
Gotcha.
But they asked for the change in position. So what does position mean? And this is where the word questions can get a little bit challenging. Change in position means, did I go west? Did I go east? Did I go north? Did I go south? And how do I determine that using numbers? If 0 was the original point, then if I went east, that's positive. If I went west, that's negative. This is where the absolute value type thing comes in. So anything that has that synonymous statement of change of position is wants to know which direction did you go, and the way that you denote direction is with the sign.
Thank you.
Now, you may want to write that down. That with word questions, you want to look for when do they denote change of position, right? Direction, anything synonymous to that. Position, direction, location, anything of that it has to require the negative or the positive sign. If you compare this one with number 1, though, I'm not sure if anyone's copying this. Can I go up to number 1?
Yes, please.
Can I clear this, or do you guys need? I can always go back if somebody needs it. If we compare this to number 1, trying to get back to my cursor, sorry. If we compare this to number 1, this one just says what was the change in temperature. It didn't ask what was did it get colder, did it get hotter? It didn't ask anything else but what we would call the absolute value. Just what was the change? How much was it? Just what was the number? Oh, well, the number is 15 degrees, right? Whereas this one is what is the change of position? Like which direction is it heading down or up? And so this one here is negative 292.
Just for a little bit of a clearer example, how could have they asked on number 1 to get for the equivalent of this question, like a change in position? How could they have asked regarding temperature? What was the change in temperature? What was the
To be more straightforward, this one went up. It went up from -3 up to 12. So either way, it would have been positive.
Okay.
Got it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But what I was really trying to point out was the language. But if that helps, you want to look at which direction are you headed? Are you heading up, down, left, right from that position? So since this one was adding up, it's a positive 15. If they had said from 12 to negative 3, then it would have been negative 15. Right? And so this one was going from the house down to the lowest point. And so that downward motion is indicated by the negative. So I don't know if anyone's interested in stocks and stuff, like Tesla stock was going up, and then it had a little, once it did that little split, they had a drop. So that drop would be indicated by a negative position.
Negative, yeah.
Total is a negative drop. All right, let's look at okay, this is similar to golf. If anyone plays golf, you have to add up your scores, and you know you want to get your certain score like par and birdies and whatnot can have negative strokes and positive strokes. So this is pretty similar. So Melanie played a game and kept track of her score. The table shows her points earned for each round. What was Melanie's score at the end of round 5 for number 8? What would we have to do here to get the final answer?
Are we doing number 7 or
number 8?
We're on that side. Okay. We're not doing number 7?
We are. We're going to go back to it.
Gotcha.
Do we add all these? Yes.
Yes, we're going to add all those together. Yes.
Okay.
Now be careful of the signs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my answer is 5.
You said 5 or 25?
I said 5.
Okay, I heard something sound like something before, so I wasn't sure if you said 5 or 25. So 5 is an answer we have. I heard another 5.
I got 5.
Okay, another 5.
Positive 8 minus 6 equals 2. No.
Got 5 too.
Minus
Okay.
4.
Sounds almost unanimous with this one. Yeah, it looks unanimous. All right, so that's the correct answer, right? 8 plus negative 6 is going to give us 2. And then 2 plus the negative 4, that's negative 2, plus the 3 gives us 1. And then 1 plus 4 will give us 5. Right? Does anyone need me to go over that anymore, or is that pretty straightforward?
Yes, just go around again. Let me understand.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so,
understand again.
all right, so basically you're adding each of them up. You could do them sideways if it helps. Or you could do that one by one. So if you add 8 plus negative 6, what answer would that give you?
2.
That would be 2, right? If you had $8 and you paid someone 6, that's 2. So now you can add the 2 to the negative 4. If you add the 2 and negative 4 together,
It's 6.
what the 2 and the negative 4 would give you?
Negative 6.
Close a little bit the opposite direction. Think of it as money. You owed someone $4 and you gave them $2. How much do you still owe them?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Right? So now you have negative 2. I'm going to scribble that out. Now you have the negative 2 and the 3. So if you were to take these two and add them up,
Plus 1.
that would be plus 1, right? $3. You owe someone 2. That's going to give you 1.
Okay,
And
plus
then
4.
you have 1 plus the 4. And what's 1 plus 4 give us?
5.
5. And so that was how you get to the 5. Doing them one by one, doing them together. Adding these two, get your result. At the next one, get your result. At the next one, get your result. At the final one together.
Okay, I did a little different.
It could be differently.
I added the 8, the 3, and the 4, got 15, and then I added the negative 6 and the negative 4, which I.
Oh, that's totally fine. You added the positive numbers. Yeah, that's fine as well. You can add the positive numbers together, right, and get those 8 plus 3
then
plus
I added
12
the negatives.
would give you the 15, and then these two together would give you the negative 10, and 15 subtract 10 is 5. You could do that as well.
Okay, I just want to know if that was safe.
Yeah, that's safe. You can add the whole numbers, I mean the positive numbers, then the negatives, and put them together. Totally fine.
Okay.
Jacob did that up top, and someone else, they added the.
This is how I've been dealing with these. I'll take all the same numbers with the same sign, add those, and then just make the difference. That's how I come up with that.
That's what we call kind of a social grouping. We group the terms together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so totally fine doing that as well. All right, let's just do this last one here, number 7. Number 9 is pretty similar, but I did want you guys to see how to do number 7. Number 7 is absolute value of the difference between the two numbers is the distance between the two numbers on the number line. What is the absolute value of the difference between points A and points B? So this is where it's just a value. It's always positive. I gave it up. Absolute value, remember what that means. If you miss what I said, good. You're finding the absolute value, the distance between the two numbers.
11.
I think
It's 11.
11 as an answer.
It's 11.
Or 11.
Yeah.
Okay, I see D, 11. So
Plus
here
7,
D.
negative 4.
All right, so yeah, that's negative 4. And this one is 6. And you could count. You could literally count each notch. Just count them as you go. You can just say like 1, 2, and continue that. Right, but most of the answers are coming up, and all of you seem to be in agreement there. That is the answer, number.
Mr. Let me give my own idea.
Pardon?
Yeah, let me give my own idea. For the point of that number 7, it could be like this. Let me see. From the arrow at the top, let me say the A stands for -4, and the B stands for +7. Let's look at the diagram above.
Right.
You
said you found the distance between these two and the distance between here?
Yeah, from the arrow above, it shows that A stands for -4 and B stands for +7.
Right. There you go. Well, because it's absolute value, you don't have to worry about the sign.
Okay.
So the distance between the -4 and 0 is just 4. And the distance between 0 and 7 is 7. So the total distance, the absolute value, just the distance itself, not worrying about direction, would just be the number 11. 7 plus.
Okay, just add, okay.
Okay, so let's just go over that a little bit, just quickly, real fast. Remember, absolute value does not care about the signs. It just cares about the distance. If you're worrying about what sign to put, it just determines on which direction you're going. If you're dealing with things that are vertically, if you're going up, your answer is going to be positive. If you're dealing with things that are vertical and your answer is going down, like the one above, the scuba diver going from her house down to underwater, then that's going to be negative. That's your final answer. If you're going from left to right and your origin is, let's say, this pen, and you're asking to go down that way, the opposite direction to the left, your answer is going to be negative. If you're going to the right, your answer will be positive. And as long as you remember all those different things and the rules, you should be fine with integers. And we will come back to integers many times as we go forward. It will be involved in many different questions. So remember, this is like the foundation. In algebra, it's all intertwined. Everything in Unit 1 is intertwined into one big answer most times. So practice makes progress. We will continue on to lesson 4. What was on lesson 3, right? We're going to continue on to lesson 4 on Thursday. That's fractions, the mighty fractions. And if you master fractions, you have really opened up the window to success. All right, any questions, you could feel free to ask them here, but we will continue with fractions. Remember, what you can do for homework is to practice the workbook, lesson 3 on integers, and the worksheet that I'll send up. Dorcas.
So you said it when it's going up is positive, when it's going down is negative.
For your final answer, yeah.
And then when it's going vertical, no.
Horizontal.
Horizontal.
Yeah, so if it's going to the left, it's negative.
Left, negative.
Right, left is negative, and then to the right is positive.
Okay, right.
Sorry, what was the homework?
The homework is to work on the workbook questions on lesson 3, unit 1 in integers. You will see questions very similar to these. If you get stuck, just make a note of which one and bring them in for Thursday. We'll do them in the beginning of the class. So make sure you're on time if you have any questions. And then the other thing is I'm going to put a worksheet up that's more basic. It's not going to have all the word problems. It's just practicing the
You
Skeleton.
said workbook lesson 3, unit 1?
Yes, lesson 3,
Okay.
unit 1.
On the worksheets that you put on remind, do you have to like somehow send them to you or like print them out? Because I just wrote it down in a different piece of paper.
No, they're for you. That's why I send them with the answer keys only. I want you guys to work through them.
Oh, okay.
Remember, the GED program is no grade, so they just really want to make sure you guys are practicing. So that's why we normally will send the answer key as well. And then any questions that you have, we will review in class. So even if it's questions from the worksheet, bring the questions in if you have questions regarding what was covered.
Okay.
All right, remember, practice makes progress. Practice, study, explain it to somebody else. The more you do it, the easier it will get. And that way you don't forget the stuff that you learn. It's a lot of information. So if once we pass unit 1 and you don't review it, you will start to forget it. Even though we will use elements from it in each unit, you will start to forget it if you don't practice.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so if there are no other questions. You said what, Janara?
I said I'll practice at work. Both my coworkers took calculus.
Oh, well, in that case, you're surrounded by much assistance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
okay.
Calculus is a great course.
I got to get this done. It's my last class, man.
You've got it. You've got this class. You're passing it and you're going on.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
All right, have a great evening.
All right, thank
See you guys hopefully on Thursday.
Yeah.
Good night, time, sir.
Good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, you as well. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
You guys have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.